Hey guys, it's Zerx. This is a TDM on Villa. I know that this is the second time or the second time in a row that I put up a match on Villa, but I needed a little bit longer time for my commentary this time, so I had to put up this longer game I had on Villa. I'm not really sure what I go in this game actually either. I forgot to record the score because I took this out of theater mode, but I vaguely remember it was around a 7 KDR, maybe it was like 35 and 5 or something like that. I don't know. It's pretty exciting gameplay anyway, so I hope you guys like it. So today, what I'm going to talk about is illegal immigration. So again, a touchy subject. Anyway, I was reading an article about illegal immigration, and in this article, the Society of Professional Journalists, this is what the author was talking about. That society is trying to make it so that journalists have to say undocumented immigrants, well, for political correctness, instead of illegal immigrants. And what this author said in his editorial is that it's not really fair to just leave it at undocumented immigrants instead of illegal immigrants because after all, they are legal. They're not just undocumented. Um, Obviously they are undocumented, but that's why it's illegal. And so just calling them undocumented immigrants is downplaying the whole illegality. And, obviously that favors the legal immigrants, makes them seem less guilty than they are. At least that's what his opinion was. Ultimately, I think it's a subjective matter. I don't see any objective reason for why we should emphasize or de-emphasize the criminal nature of this group. By that same token, though, I don't see why the standard should be set on like one or the other. It should be open really to any accurate, labeling or word that isn't derogatory. And to me, neither of them are derogatory, so you should be able to use either one. You shouldn't make it so that you have to call them illegal immigrants or you have to call them undocumented immigrants. They're both pretty fair. It just depends on when you're writing the article how you want to convey this group of people, what you want to set them up to be, you could say. Anyway, let me know what you think. I know some people feel really strongly about this, and some people don't even really care, especially, I guess, if you don't live in Southern California. I do, so it has come up a lot. I have a lot of Mexican friends, and well, I mean, not a lot, but um, I do have some friends that feel very strongly about this, and they are of Latino backgrounds, so I understand. So let me know what you think, and maybe I'll touch on that again in my next commentary. And actually, this is a two-parter, and they're not really that topically relevant to each other, but I'll explain. I was getting to that right now, actually. Oh, okay, sorry. Someone was at the door for a sec. Um, Anyway, yeah, okay, so this was going to be a two-parter because after I read this article, I was thinking, okay, there are two things that I could talk about at this point. I could either talk about illegal immigration, or, and that's what I'm going to talk about in this commentary, or I could talk about the idea of political correctness, and, well, and when it comes to labeling groups of people, because that's, well, that's what I'm interested in. And I'm going to talk about that PC political correctness in the next video, just because, I can't put both in the same video. And I'm going to talk about illegal immigration in this one. So, okay. So there are some main points for why we shouldn't be so against illegal immigration, why it might need to be revised so it's not so difficult, for illegal immigrants to get along. And so the main reason that I've heard is that they do the work for cheap, and ultimately that does make things cheaper for American consumers, which, I am one of. So I like that. It's kind of like when you outsource to China, or when you put your tech support in India, which I guess is another kind of outsourcing. It makes things cheaper when you get, foreigners in cheaper countries to do the work. Although this is a little different because it's illegal. And it's not that the work they're doing is illegal, it's just that they wouldn't be able to do it if they weren't here illegally. Um, so there is a little downside to that good point that it makes things cheaper. In that same vein, there's the idea that they do jobs that Americans wouldn't normally do. Um, for example, they might go out into a strawberry field and pick strawberries all day for like $3 or something ridiculous like that. And so obviously Americans wouldn't do that. But really, that's more of a misconception. You might even be thinking right now, like, oh, I'm sure there are a lot of unemployed Americans who wouldn't be totally against working as farmhands, especially if the choice is, you know, that or dying or like your family starving for a month. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people would pick that farmhand job. And, oh, I get bailed out right here. I think I go on a pretty nice streak right here. Should watch this. Anyway, yeah, so it is a misconception because it's not that Americans wouldn't do the job, it's just that they wouldn't and legally can't because of minimum wage, and not as if that's a bad thing, they should be getting minimum wage. They wouldn't do that job for so little money, and that makes sense because they shouldn't have to. So along with that little backhanded main point, there are some main points that are very directly against this idea of illegal immigration. So going along with that last point, blue-collar Americans are losing jobs. Naturally, when employers can get the same results and maybe even a little bit better results, you know, depending on the work ethic of the given illegal immigrant, if they can get away with paying less, you know, for an illegal immigrant versus, you know, coughing up minimum wage, they're going to go for the illegal immigrant. It only makes sense. On top of that, illegal immigrants can use public services like emergency rooms and public schools and things like that without paying regular taxes like everyone else, obviously, because they're undocumented. So ultimately, that means that other Americans have to pay a bigger bill, and that's bad, because that means you're going to pay more money for someone who just refuses to pay money. Oh, sorry, I put in the little theater ending right there, but here's a little bonus clip so I can finish up talking. It's a little sniping clip on Hanoi. Anyway, so yeah, you'll have Americans paying more money because of illegal immigrants, essentially. So, on a final note, when you put illegality and immorality aside, the issue boils down to one thing, and so at this point it's pretty obvious, it's money. So the question is whether illegal immigrants help more by lowering prices with their lower wages, or if they hurt us more when they indirectly raise our taxes, when they leech off public services and they don't pay for them. So unfortunately, it's pretty hard to get a reliable measure of either of those, especially the first one, because hard to see like how, you know, these little paltry wages are going to affect the whole economy. But I mean, it does happen. But it's hard to predict reliably. So maybe if we got a really rough estimate and we saw that one of them was 1,000 times more important than the other, then we could say, okay, yeah, well, maybe we should let them in, or no, we should kick them out. And if you feel really strongly about this and you don't really care about all those facts on like a moral level, then it's much easier. Anyway, hope I left you something to think about. Subscribe, like, and bye.